The most pitiful ghost in Swedish folklore, the Myling. A spirit born in shame and buried in silence, but suddenly could return for revenge. Welcome, my crypt goblins. Today we're gonna find out what happens when someone is born but never wanted, barred from entering Sky Daddy's great big farm in the clouds. Well, according to Scandinavian folklore, we would have a Myling on our hands. Let's get into it.
Morbid history.
In the oldest corners of Scandinavian folklore, we find the Myling. This is a restless ghost of an unwanted child, and they lurk where no one dares to look, under floorboards, beneath moss, deep in the forest. Small, sorrowful, and hauntingly determined to be acknowledged. The word itself, Myling, is said to come from the Old Norse word myrda, which means to demise someone. A grim etymology for a grim little creature. To bear a child out of wedlock was once, through history, a fate worse than dearly departure. Fear of shame and punishment drove many young women to hide their pregnancies and their newborns. In cruel desperation, these babies were often abandoned or smothered and buried in secret under barns, in forests, or, as we said, beneath floorboards. Denied a name, a grave, or even its mother's love. When the mothers would hide or bury these poor little souls, they would be placed in a little wooden box, kinda like a crude coffin. And on top of it, they would place something made out of iron, like a small pocket knife, some nails, or a pair of scissors. Yeah, iron is an old, tried and true remedy against the unnatural, to ward off evil spirits. It comes up every so often in folklore tales. Yet, of course, time rusts all kinds of locks, and grief never really stays buried. And should the Myling finally break free, it would return not as the infant it was, but at the age it should have been, had it been given the grace to survive. Only, of course, this version was pale, malnourished, and hollow-eyed. Hungry not for food, but recognition. And woe to the mother it finds. Many tales tell of Mylingar coming back and breastfeeding their mothers into the great beyond, draining their life. But not all ends must be tragic. A Myling can be saved. For example, you can give it a name, usually your own, telling the little one that they may borrow it. Or if you can find its little bones, you may dig it up and rebury it in consecrated ground. Acknowledge its pain, and it may finally rest. But ignore it, and its footstep will never fade. If you're unlucky, the Myling can hop on your back like a piggyback ride and demand you carry it to the nearest graveyard, getting heavier and heavier every step you take, until you crumble and dearly depart under its heavy sorrow. Now I'm gonna tell you 2 folk tales about the Myling. The first one starts with a young woman, pregnant and terrified of scandal. She buried her child beneath the floorboards of her family's barn. As the years passed, time softened her guilt. Finally, she got married, and they held the wedding feast in that very barn. Music swelled. Guests merrily danced, and danced some more. And as their feet thundered across the floor, a pair of iron scissors atop a small wooden box beneath were jostled and fell off. From beneath rose a pale child, hollow, swaying and singing. Benen är lång, byttan är trång, låt mig dansa än en gång. which translates into, "My legs are long, the box is tight, let me dance once more." And with those words, it grabbed its mother and started swirling, and danced her to demise. A second tale tells of an old man walking home through the forest late at night. Behind him, soft footsteps, and as he turned he saw a child, pale, hollow, white and thin. "Sir, do you have some food?" The man replied, "I'm a poor farmer. I have nothing for you. Go find someone who does." The child stared and vanished. The man shrugged and continued home. But once he arrived in his cottage and opened the door, he found his daughter laying on the floor. Blood stained her chest. He had met her Myling on the road and given it permission to return home to feed. So yeah, beware of footsteps in the forest and the silence beneath your floorboards. Sometimes the smallest ghosts carry the deepest grief. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to hear more of the dark things that have happened in our past. Also, it's super nice for the algorithm. Thank you. It's free for you, helps me so much, and I promise it won't hurt. Either way, stay amazing, stay hydrated, but most of all, stay morbid, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye!